Joining me now in a first on CNBC interview is Boris Jordan, the executive chairman of Curaleaf. Boris, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate your time and expertise. I'll tell you what, I spent a couple of years ago a full day in a marijuana dispensary where they were talking about how this business is going to grow over time. And it was a powerful story several years ago in terms of the growth of this industry. But the big problem they had in that dispensary that I was at was how to handle the cash, because the banks wouldn't take their money. The federal ban kept in place this awkward situation where states say it's legal, you can engage in state-level business transactions, but at the federal level, you can't access the banking system. Is that a problem for you, and how do you see that resolving itself in the years to come?
Well, I think it's good to be here. I think it's a problem for everyone in the industry. The fact that, Canadian marijuana companies, Colombian marijuana companies, European marijuana companies can bank in the U.S., trade in our exchanges, but homegrown U.S. businesses like Curaleaf cannot. And it's the most outrageous thing I've ever seen in business for 30 years. But, obviously Curaleaf, being the largest cannabis company in the world, does have access to banking, but we bank at very small mom and pop banks around the country. Some of our banks have less capital, that we hold deposits in those banks because the large money center banks are not allowed to bank our sector. We're not allowed to trade on U.S. exchanges. A lot of investors in the U.S. cannot access our share price. We trade in Canada. And you mentioned that our share price is down 30%. Well, I think that's a disappointment in the Democrats and Republicans, because this is a very bipartisan issue, that they have not been able to pass safe banking. And, one talks about social justice issues and getting a lot of these communities that have been very harmed by the war on drugs, which we support tremendously. But how can they open businesses? How can they do if they can't even open up a bank account, if they can't get basic banking services or loans?
So what are you going to do about that?
Safe banking is very important.
What are you going to do about that? I mean, you're talking about, in our notes with our producer here, you said you see New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York State, I think, as an $8 billion opportunity going forward. That's a lot of money. If you have to ship that around in trucks, physical pallets of cash driving up and down I-95 in New Jersey, I mean, you're talking about a huge opportunity for, the Sopranos crime family or other bad guys to go after that money. It's not safe to have that amount of cash moving around the country.
And that's why
so what do you do?
That's why the law is called the Safe Banking Act. And it does have support, but at the moment, Senator Schumer has made a decision that he wants to get a more comprehensive bill, which we also support, obviously. And he wants to try to get, interstate commerce. He wants to get cannabis removed from the list of prohibited drugs. He wants to get a lot of different things done. Well, we think that there should be, a first step. And the first step is to make it safe for those companies and the people that work. You have to understand, Curaleaf alone has over, 6,000 employees. We're hiring 2,000 employees a year. The industry's now hired almost 350,000 employees in the last 3 years. And a lot of our employees can't open bank accounts for basic banking services. So this is now affecting not only big companies, but this is affecting everyday Americans who are trying to get access to banking services that work for this very big industry. Now, and Boris, so we are hopeful that the government will move in the direction of approving the Safe Banking Act.